that panics over the future and talks us out of opportunities. It says things like, I can't handle this, I'm not good enough, or this is going to be a disaster. And the scary part is, when you hear something often enough, especially from your own mind, you start to believe it. It becomes your truth, not because it's true, but because it's familiar. This is why training your mind to stay calm includes training your self-talk. You cannot create a calm, centered life if the voice in your head is constantly screaming, doubting, or criticizing. That's like trying to meditate in the middle of a rock concert. It's not going to work. The chaos inside will always override any calm you try to create outside. But here's the good news. Just like any habit, self-talk can be rewired. You can learn to speak to yourself with intention. You can replace those automatic negative loops with thoughts that empower you instead of exhaust you. It starts with awareness. Catch yourself in the act. Start listening to what you're saying silently throughout the day. When something goes wrong, what's your immediate thought? Do you call yourself stupid? Do you assume you failed? Do you panic and spiral? That awareness is the first step. You can't change a pattern you're not aware of. Once you catch the negative self-talk, don't fight it, replace it. This is where affirmations come in, but not the fluffy kind that feel fake or forced. I'm talking about grounded, believable, powerful statements that calm your nervous system and shift your mindset. Things like, I can figure this out. I've been through worse and made it through. Right now, I choose to respond, not react. These phrases are more than words. They're commands to your brain. They guide your focus, they anchor your thinking, they shape your identity. And your identity is everything. If you keep telling yourself you're anxious, you'll keep looking for reasons to feel anxious. If you believe you're someone who can't handle stress, your brain will look for evidence to prove that true. But if you start saying, I'm calm under pressure, and you back that up with action, your brain starts building a new story. That story becomes your new truth. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about choosing a more empowering narrative. This doesn't mean you'll never feel fear, doubt, or overwhelm again. Of course you will. You're human. But with trained self-talk, you learn to lead yourself through those moments instead of being dragged by them. Your self-talk becomes a steady guide when everything else feels shaky. You start coaching yourself like someone who actually wants to win instead of someone who's just trying to survive. Think about athletes in high-stakes moments. They don't stand there saying, oh God, I hope I don't mess this up. No. They lock in. They talk themselves through it. They say, you've trained for this. Stay focused. You've got this. That kind of language creates calm. It builds confidence. It directs energy toward what matters. You can do the same thing every single day. Start small. Talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend. Firm but kind, honest but encouraging. When you mess up, say, that wasn't my best, but I'm learning. When you're scared, say, this is hard, but I've got tools to handle it. Over time, that voice becomes your anchor. It becomes the soundtrack of resilience in your mind. Your thoughts are not facts, but they do shape your experience. So if you want to stay calm, you've got to train that inner voice to support you, not sabotage you. You don't have to believe every thought you think. You get to choose which ones you repeat. And the ones you repeat, that's the life you create. Calm isn't something you find, it's something you build. And like any skill, it takes practice. It's not a switch you flip, it's a muscle you train. You can't expect to be calm under pressure if you never practice calm when life is quiet. You can't show up with control and clarity in the storm if you haven't built that foundation in the stillness. It's like expecting to run a marathon without training. Your mind needs reps too. This is where routines, habits, and daily practices come into play. They aren't just about productivity. They're about training your nervous system. They're about wiring your brain to feel safe, grounded, and focused, especially when life gets chaotic. Think of your daily practices as emotional conditioning. Just like lifting weights strengthens your body, these small intentional actions strengthen your emotional stability. Let's talk about mornings. The way you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you wake up and immediately check your phone, scroll through the news, or dive into emails, you're handing your peace over to the world before you've even claimed it for yourself. Your brain starts reacting before it's had a chance to breathe. That's not calm, that's chaos disguised as normal. So what do you do instead? You anchor. You build a morning that protects your mind, even if it's just 10 minutes. Maybe it's sitting in silence with your coffee. Maybe it's a few minutes of journaling, a walk, a meditation, or simply taking 3 deep breaths before you reach for your phone. Whatever it is, it should remind your brain, I'm in charge. I'm not reacting. I'm responding. I'm starting with intention, not noise. The same goes for your evenings. Wind down routines matter. Your brain needs to feel like there's a rhythm to your day, an end to the chaos. Dim the lights, put your phone away, reflect, breathe. These things seem small, but they build mental discipline. They tell your nervous system, you're safe to relax. That consistency is what helps you stay calm when life throws surprises your way, because your brain remembers, we've been here before. We know what to do. And here's something else most people overlook. The people you surround yourself with and the content you consume are also part of your emotional training. If your environment is constantly loud, dramatic, negative, or overwhelming, your brain mirrors that energy. It stays on alert. But if you start curating what you allow into your space, whether that's people, media, or even background noise, you give yourself a better chance at keeping your internal world grounded. Training your mind to stay calm also involves practicing what I call mini resets throughout the day. Don't wait until you're overwhelmed. Build in breaks. Take 60 seconds to breathe, stretch, or step outside. These small resets interrupt the buildup of stress before it becomes too much. They keep your baseline lower, your patience longer, and your clarity sharper. Another powerful practice is reflection. At the end of the day, take just a few minutes to ask yourself, where did I feel calm today? Where did I lose my peace? What triggered me? What helped me get back to center? These questions help you spot patterns, and when you see the patterns, you can change them. This is how self-awareness grows. This is how emotional intelligence is built. And look, you don't have to do all of this perfectly. That's not the point. The point is to build a toolkit. You're not trying to become someone who never feels stress or fear or frustration. You're becoming someone who knows how to handle it. Someone who has practiced staying calm. Someone who doesn't crumble every time life gets loud. That's real power. That's resilience. So no, calm isn't something reserved for monks or gurus. It's not about escaping life. It's about engaging with it differently. It's about building a strong inner world so that the outer world doesn't shake you as easily. And that kind of calm, that's earned. One small practice at a time, every day. That's how you train your mind. That's how you build the version of you that doesn't just survive chaos, but rises above it. In life, things will go wrong. Plans will fall apart. People will disappoint you. You'll get blindsided by something you never saw coming. That's just reality. You can't control every situation, every outcome, or every person. But you can control one incredibly powerful thing, your response. And when you train yourself to respond instead of react, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming a master of your own peace. Here's the truth. Most people go through life on autopilot, constantly reacting to whatever happens around them. Someone cuts them off in traffic and they snap. Their boss criticizes them and they shut down. A goal gets delayed and they spiral into doubt or self-pity. It's all knee-jerk, automatic, no pause, no control. And that's exactly what makes life feel overwhelming and chaotic. You're letting everything outside of you dictate what's happening inside of you. But here's the shift. You don't have to give that power away. You don't have to let your emotions run the show every time something goes sideways. You get to choose your response. That's where real strength comes from, not from avoiding problems, but from managing them with clarity, patience, and grounded thinking. You become someone who doesn't crumble under pressure. You become the person in the room who stays calm when everyone else is losing their heads. Not because you're cold or detached, but because you've trained for it. Now, choosing to respond instead of react doesn't mean pretending everything's fine. It doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or being robotic. It means you allow the emotion to rise, but you don't become the emotion. You notice the anger, the fear, the frustration, and then you decide what to do with it. That decision is what separates leaders from followers, peace from panic. Let's say something unexpected happens, you lose a deal, your partner says something that hits a nerve, or a project completely collapses. Your initial instinct might be to lash out, shut down, or catastrophize. That's normal. But instead of reacting right away, you take a breath. You pause. You give your brain a second to shift from emotional reactivity to thoughtful awareness. In that pause, you ask yourself, what's the best response here? What would the strongest version of me do right now? That moment of awareness, that's everything. That's where change happens. That's where calm lives. Responding instead of reacting also means taking full responsibility for your mindset. You stop blaming everything around you for how you feel. Yes, people can be frustrating. Yes, life can be unfair. But when you train your mind to respond, you stop saying, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what can I do about it? That shift puts you back in the driver's seat. It reminds you that your power doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from controlling yourself. It also makes you a better communicator. When you're reacting, you speak from emotion, often with words you later regret. But when you respond, you communicate with intention. You still express what you feel, but you do it in a way that invites understanding, not conflict. You create space for clarity. You make better decisions. You reduce damage. You build trust. Over time, responding instead of reacting becomes a habit. At first, it'll be clunky. You'll catch yourself mid-reaction and have to slow down. Sometimes you'll still snap or spiral. That's okay. That's part of learning. But every time you choose to pause and respond, you're rewiring your brain. You're strengthening your self-regulation, and eventually it becomes your default mode. That's the kind of person you want to be. Not someone who never feels emotion, but someone who doesn't let emotion control them. Not someone who never faces problems, but someone who always shows up calm, steady, and clear no matter what the situation is. You won't always be able to change what happens to you, but you always have the power to choose what you do next. And that power, that's the foundation of a calm, resilient, and powerful life. That's how you take control, not just of the moment, but of your future. Because when you respond instead of react, you don't just survive the chaos, you rise above it every single time.